We're talking all things Trump Indictment Day. Trump indictment. Okay. So let's get down into this. My thoughts and opinions on this is I think this whole thing's a farce. I think they're trying to scare and intimidate Trump into not running in 2024, which it's not going to work. Let's be real. Trump's going to come back, use this, and come back from this stronger than ever. All right, I got a couple questions. When does the statute of limitations on these charges expire? Oh, the timeline. Because there are statute of limitations for certain offenses. So tell me when that... Also, what is Trump formally being charged with? Because I'd like to hear it out of Alvin Bragg's mouth. I haven't formally heard a charge. What legal statute did Trump violate? What one did he break? Can you answer that for me, Alvin Bragg's? No, you can't. You can't, because this whole thing's a farce and this whole thing's a witch hunt. Even liberal news outlet CNN called this case underwhelming. Let me play that tape.
Case may be or may not be. Your reaction now that you've had a chance to go through it, is it what you thought it was going to be, and are you unimpressed?
It is what I thought it was going to be in terms of focusing on the payments that were made, the falsification of the records, and really tied to the payment that was made to Stormy Daniels. In terms of a case that's being brought against a former president, it's a little underwhelming. There's not more to it. There's not more violations, tax violations. There's not an incredible new set of facts that we didn't know about publicly. It's really the facts of this case as they have existed for basically almost 7 years.
And
also, anti-Trump lawyer says that he is distressed over how weak this case was, and he thought it would be, he thinks it will be subject to dismissal or quick acquittal.
One, big picture, what do you think of the indictment?
Well, speaking as someone who very strongly does not want Donald Trump to get the Republican presidential nomination, I'm extraordinarily distressed by this document. I think this is even weaker than I feared it would be. And I think it's easily subject to being dismissed or a quick acquittal for Trump. Just speaking, going back to the days when I represented Jim Buckley and Gene McCarthy and the constitutional challenge to the underlying federal statute here passed in 1974, I can say there is no basis in the statutory language to say that Trump's behavior forms either a contribution or an expenditure under federal law, the two key definitions at issue here. If it did, it would mean that every single expenditure a candidate made could be taken to have something to do with his campaign. Do I buy a $1 comb to comb my hair or a $10 comb to comb my hair? If you can construe the statute to cover this behavior, then I think it violates the First Amendment, because you're deeply into territory that makes this statute, absolutely, federal statute, too vague for enforcement. And as what I understood the district attorney to say, that he thinks there's a New York election law involved here, all I can say is the Federal Election Campaign Act absolutely preempts any state or local law to the contrary. How could it be otherwise? You've got one law governing corporate finance in a presidential election at the federal level. You're going to have 50 state laws interfering with it. So he's just wrong on the applicability of the New York statute.
So I don't think you can get any more clearer than that. Now to kind of the timeline of what we saw happen and the theater, which, let's be real, that's what it is. The whole thing is theater, political theater. Let's go over that. So he left Mar-a-Lago on Monday. The streets were, of course, lined with people on both sides of the road. Now, keep in mind, this is him leaving, and they are getting this big of a crowd. No other president would receive this big of a crowd just lining the streets to see him. Then he flew to New York. Then he rode to Trump Tower and had this video exiting the motorcade and going into Trump Tower. Then, fast forward to the next day, the crowds were lining the streets, and they had a rally at a local New York park with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Then Trump proceeded to leave Trump Tower for court. Trump arrived to court with...
Oh, here he comes. Here he comes.
Then would be processed and booked. We saw a picture. We weren't allowed. No media was allowed in the courtroom, but there was one historic picture taken of the former president. He would then be perp walked, and the disrespect by the police officer not holding the door for the former president.
Yeah, you mentioned lawyers. We saw Joe Tacopina walk in, and here is the former president. There he is.
President Trump, will you come speak to us? President Trump?
Oh, that was just
I don't care that he was arrested. You hold the door in this situation. Trump's lawyers came out and delivered a brief press comment.
Guys, here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the insufficiency of this case. And I will say this to you. Today's unsealing of this indictment shows that the rule of law died in this country. Because while everyone is not above the law, no one's below it either. And if this man's name was not Donald J. Trump, there is no scenario we'd all be here today. Please understand that based on these charges.
Then Trump flew back to Mar-a-Lago. Again, there were people lining the roads from the airport to Trump's home. Then Trump would give a speech from Mar-a-Lago where he gave 3 highlights that I'm going to go.
Thank you very much, everybody. We have to save our country. God bless you all. God bless you all. And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately. They want to settle the case, but I want no part of that.
So first thing to take away was the fact that Alvin Bragg wanted to settle the case. Why would a prosecutor want to settle a case? Well, a prosecutor would want to settle a case due to lack of evidence. A prosecutor would want to settle a case because they are scared that they are going to lose. And Trump said, nope, I don't want any part in that. Basically, he told Alvin Bragg to stick it. And he wants to hear 2 words, and that is not guilty. Trial will be starting later on this year. However, I think a change of venue will obviously be a necessity if we want to see a Trump win, because New York is all, for the most part, Democrat, so you cannot get a fair trial in New York, as it is all a bunch of Trump-hating Democrats. The most appalling clip of the whole ordeal was Rachel Maddow and MSNBC.
Is making remarks tonight from his home in Florida. As far as we can tell, and what we were prepared for here, is that this is basically a campaign speech in which he is repeating his same lies and allegations against his perceived enemies. It is just getting started. So far, he's just giving his normal list of grievances. We don't consider that necessarily newsworthy, and there's a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. So our deal with you is that we will monitor these remarks. If he does say anything newsworthy, we will turn them around and report on that right away. But for now, just know that it's happening, and we're not taking it.
Play the clip. They refuse to play the Trump speech due to the viewer not being able. They pulled it off the air and said he's lying, and then proceeded to not show proof of him lying. But the viewer, MSNBC viewer, is not able to tell the difference between a Donald Trump lie and the truth, so the MSNBC viewer would believe Trump and would believe Trump's rhetoric, so we're just not going to play him. What? That has got to be the most stupidest comment I have ever seen a media outlet make. Typically what the media does is they play what in this case Trump says, and if there was something untrue, they would come back, tell us X, Y, and Z was untrue, and then they would move on with the broadcast. Instead, she doesn't even want you to hear what President Trump has to say. So I just thought that was a little depicting. She is afraid you, the viewer, can't decide what is truth and what is lie. Overall, in the polls, this has caused President Trump to be more popular and not less popular. According to this poll, he's got a 42 to 29% lead over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. God bless you, President Trump, for withstanding this. Put your foot down and stick it to these guys and come back stronger. Thank you for watching this video. I know I might have offended you, and frankly, I do not care. Maybe grow a backbone. If you liked my content, hit the like button below, Subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. Also, check out my other social medias. I have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, an Instagram page, a Telegram, a MeWe, a Rumble, a Getter, a Parler, a Truth Social, a TikTok, and the audio-only podcast is available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and more. Linktree will be below in the description for you to follow me on all other social medias. God bless. Have a good day.